Thank you for tuning in to Many Sacred Moons. I am Manu Kanoa, one who is sovereign. And so the full moon. This is the flower moon for May 24th. And so it is a full moon in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a fire sign. Sagittarius reminds us to be expansive. Sagittarius reminds us to be adventurous. Sagittarius reminds us to be optimistic. And the full moon often can represent the sort of the fruition of things. It can represent things coming to a climax. And so what have we built up to, and now what is it time to release? Is it time to release ourselves from jobs? Is it time for us to release ourselves and become independent? Is it time for us to release ourselves and find truth and find freedom? Is it time for us to release ourselves from something and maybe return to higher education? When we think of the full moon, Sagittarius is also like truth seeking. Sagittarius is also about philosophy. It's also about long distance travel. Maybe in this time you're craving travel. Maybe in this time you're craving to go somewhere. And so I think this week is asking us to let go and allow optimism into our lives, to let go and broaden our horizons, to let go and seek new experiences, to let go and allow movement and change. And so this full moon is asking us to let go and to embrace a certain kind of openness, to allow ourselves to open. And so we're going to get into our reading. Please know I have this YouTube channel and I also have an Instagram. But if there is someone that might be pretending to be me, please know that I will never come into your inbox and ask you if you would like a reading. If you would like a reading, then if you feel called to get a reading, then you can ask. I'm not sure how I should say that. However, so we're going to get into this reading. We're going to start with a collective message, and then we're going to start with, we're going to have 4 groups of cards. So take your time to decide which cards you would like to choose. I keep looking at myself in the camera. But yes, so let's get into the reading for the full moon in Sagittarius. It is the flower moon. So we're going to start with a collective message, and this one is the threshold. So the threshold is coming up. And what the threshold represents is that boundary. It's a boundary. The threshold can be a place where something has to give. The threshold is that place where other reactions start to kick off. So when we're talking about the threshold, it's almost what I'm feeling is something like a precipice. Temperance is coming in, and temperance is coming in the area of, so this card is temperance. I don't know if you can see it. This one is temperance. So temperance is coming in, and it's saying that like we as a collective we've been making a lot of excuses. We've been allowing certain things to slide. We've been giving grace. We have been trying to be patient, trying to be just, trying to be fair. And we are hitting a threshold right now. And so the other card that's coming up is the Strength card. So here we have the Strength card. I don't know if you can see it, but we have the Strength card. So the Strength card is coming up. And then we also have the Three of Voices. And so this card is coming up. And essentially what it's saying is voices. As a collective, using our voices. So we all know what's going on right now. We all know that Palestine, Sudan, Congo, West Papua, Haiti, Sudan, I think I said that. We all know what's going on. We all know what's going on in the world, the rising cost of real estate, the rising cost of everything. Student loan, everything is out of whack. And there's a threshold, and there's only so much that people can take. And so this is a time where we become strong. This is a time where we use our voice. This is a time, the three of voices. This is a time where like we open our mouths and we speak truth. The threshold is here. The threshold is here. The threshold is saying how much more? How much more? How much more? How much more? There is... So really what this is saying is that we've reached a threshold. The time for niceties is mostly done. The time for niceties is done. It is a time where we have to use our voice, and we have to be strong and steadfast in our voice. The threshold is here, that point where there is no return. That point where there is no more return the threshold has been we've reached it. We've reached it, and there's no more time. There's no more time to continue to play games. There's no more time to sort of pussyfoot. There's no more time to beat around the bush. So whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a community, whether it's multiple things that are happening in this world, we have reached a threshold. We have reached a threshold. Our foot is at the door. And so I think that a lot of us are saying no more. A lot of us are saying goodbye. A lot of us are saying, you know what? No, not going to be in this job, this relationship, any of this. So I think that that's really what the collective is at. The collective has reached the threshold, and we're tired. So we're going to get started with our message for the full moon, the flower moon. And we're going to start with our 4 groups. I'm not really going to go into the stones, but we have our stones here. So this one is green. This one is more of a agate, pink agate. I think this one is purple, and then this one is also a pink agate or agate. But we have 4 groups: group 1, group 2, group 3, and then group 4. So we're going to start here with group 1. This is group 1. You are welcome to scroll through. And I'm also going to have some clarifying cards just in case. So we're going to start with group 1. I'm going to put the rest of the cards to the side. So for group 1, we have the King. And so the full moon is in Sagittarius. Remember, we have the full moon in Sagittarius. With the full moon in Sagittarius, we are also let's say also, but here we have the King. The full moon. The King represents the head of something. The King can represent male energy. The King can represent something that's powerful. It can represent the sovereign power. It can represent strength. When we think of a king, we think of royalty. When we think of a king. And so I want to start with the full moon. The full moon, what are we letting go of? You know, in Sagittarius, that optimistic energy, that worldly energy, that sort of inquisitive, intelligent energy. Kings are about structure. Kings are about control. Is there a letting go of control? Is there a letting go of some kind of structure? Is there a letting go of some sort of kingdom? And so we're going to look at the area of the shadow. Kind of what I like to do is look at the shadow. So we're looking at the shadow, the priestess. Okay, and then looking at the area of the light, I'm going to choose this card for the light, Justice. Okay. And then the tool, the 6 of Voices. And so the area of the priestess is that divine feminine energy. So in terms of the king, in terms of power and control and the masculine, the priestess comes, and in the area of the shadow, what might be being asked, what can be, what might be asked is to balance that very hard masculine energy, that need to go, 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 and do, 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 do. But the priestess is that divine feminine energy. And she's saying, she's asking for you to tap into intuition. Whereas this overall energy of structure, of force, the priestess comes in with intuition. We also see the Justice card in the area of the light. So when I'm seeing the priestess, I'm seeing the Justice, and then we're seeing the Six of Voices. And the Six of Voices is really asking, being out on a ledge, being out there in the unknown is really the energy that I'm getting here. Six of Voices, you are being held. I'm also feeling something very ancestral here. There's something very ancestral to me about this reading. And I don't know why, but something here and something here, there's just something really ancestral that I feel like is happening. And there's something about the king. I'm almost getting this idea that somebody is revisiting lands that their ancestors come from. Or they're connecting with something ancestral is happening here to me in this reading. I don't know why, but that's just what's coming up for me. The priestess energy is the divine feminine. It is the intuitive, it is the psychic. And then we have the Justice card, which is also 11. So the Justice card, it represents balance, but it also represents things being made right. I think that there are things that are coming up out of the darkness that are being made right. And I think that the Six of Voices is really the reminder from Spirit that you're being held by the universe. You are being held by a powerful force. And so there are these structures. So in one instance, there are these structures that you need to let go of. And intuitively, you almost know, because the priestess is that divine energy of our intuition. It is our intuition. And so this is a moment where you let go of the structure, you let go of the force, you let go of the rote sort of, I gotta do, go, 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 complete, task. Whereas tapping into the priestess, you tap into a very divine knowingness so that things are aligned just right. By tapping into and not being afraid of your intuition, there's something that your intuition is telling you. And so letting go of this sort of logical mind, because when I see the king, I also think sometimes that sort of logical mind that we have. And so by letting go of that, the Justice card, things coming to alignment, things are made right. And so this Six of Voices is really reaching out to the universe and asking for help. Okay. It's looking up to the heaven and sending a prayer for help. There is this sort of transition, going from a place you're moving, you might even be moving out of a place where you had everything that you wanted. The king has everything that they need. The king has everything. They have the kingdom, they have the food, they have the supplies, they have the resources. But it may be time with the Six of Voices, it's saying that like it's time to send up a prayer because you may want something different. And you have to tap into that darker part of you. And not dark in terms of it being a bad thing, but the darker part of you, the place where you have to reach within yourself and find tools and information that may not have been available to you. And so then as you reach into that darker part of you, the Justice card comes in because you start to shed skin. You start to shed old ways. And as you shed those old ways, things are made right in your life. Things are made right on your path. Things are made right in your journey. And again, back to that whole ancestral thing, there's something very ancestral happening here. And I don't know what it is, but it feels so ancestral to me. And this Justice card kind of brings up like you're shedding old ways. Some of us might be in the process of decolonizing. You know, we are decolonizing ways in which we carry our body, getting rid of old names. You know, we think about the king, you know, when we think about England, when we think about Portugal, Spain, when we think about these European powers that have stripped us of our culture, have stripped us of our connection to ancestor, to source, to earth, to river, to mountain, to sun, to stars, to moon. And so there's something very ancestral happening. Maybe someone's taking a trip to ancestral, but you're letting go of some sort of thing, structure that had you disconnected. So that is group 1. We are going to move on to group 2. So moving on to group 2. This is group 2. So group 2, we have the Destroyer. I feel like that was in another reading that I had. The Destroyer. The Destroyer. And then I'm going to choose one card that represents... We're going to start with the light. The Hanged Muse. Then we're going to choose one for the shadow or the darkness, the place where we just need more information, awakening, and then the Tool, the Eight of Inspiration. I'm going to move these over here. So the full moon, the Destroyer. Thinking about the energy of the Destroyer. We can see the numbers here, 23, 3 is 5, 5 is the number of change. So I feel like sometimes 5 is really the number of like abrupt change. And so then we have the Awakening, which is number 20. We have the Hanged Muse. And then we have the Eight of Inspiration. And so Destroyer. When I see the card that is the Destroyer, really what I feel like I'm seeing is this idea that something there's a destruction happening, but it leads to an awakening. And I think that awakening, and we have multiple awakenings in our life. We have awakenings throughout our year. We can have awakenings on a daily basis. But this awakening, when we see the Hanged Muse, it's abrupt in some ways, but it changes perspective. It focuses you in a new direction. It stops you, it suspends you for a second so that you can see beyond whatever it is that's been happening. So the full moon is really asking us to allow whatever it is to be destroyed, to fall away, to crumble, to be made no more, and to not fear the awakening. You know, in the area of the shadow, sometimes we are on the precipice of an awakening. And so there is a beautiful change of perspective that is happening in this new moon, this full moon in Sagittarius. And so the tool is the Eight of Inspiration. And so with the Eight of Inspiration, we are seeing a sort of free-flowing energy. There is a breaking free of stuck patterns. You know, there's this sort of momentum, there's this speed, there is something happening very rapidly. The tool here is not having to have all the answers. Okay. There can be duality, there can be unanswered questions. There are opportunities for failure. There are opportunities where things do not have to be black and white. And so the Destroyer really says that like something needs clearing out maybe in your life. Maybe it's time to clear out in emails. Maybe it's time to clear out your mailbox. Maybe it's time to clear out your house. Maybe it's time to clear out your car. Maybe it's time to clean some stuff up. That's the sort of destruction, you know, destroying that sort of messiness that might exist in your life. And so I wonder what else? Spirit, what other messages do you have? What other messages are there? So sometimes the Destroyer is the unexpected. I also felt that when I saw the Hanged Muse. I felt like there was something unexpected happening that brings an awakening. You know, the Destroyer is sort of the final three archetypes. You know, you have the trio of existence, but the Destroyer is that sort of final archetype. It is the necessary yet painful work that we have to do in the world. You know, it's the part of us that wants things to end. It's the painful orientation to uncover our true purpose. The Destroyer is that which does not allow us to linger in our comforts. And it knows that much can't happen when we are lingering in those comforts. And so it's saying goodbye to old myths. What are the stories, the myths that we've told ourselves? You know, what are the stories and the myths that we've told ourselves? And now it's time to write a new story. Now it's time to awaken, to look to the muse, to look to the, you know, Bhagawan, to look to God, to look to source, to spirit. And to not be afraid of painful endings. And so then the Eight of Inspiration comes in and it's allowing us to know that sometimes we don't need all the answers. Sometimes we have to allow, as things end, you know, some of us might be seeking closure, that not all questions can always be answered, that not all things are black and white, that you have to allow room for growth. But there is rapid change that's happening. It's definitely what I feel like with the Eight of Inspiration. There is rapid change that is happening as whatever it is comes to an end, as whatever it is falls apart. So that is group 2. We're going to move on to group 3. So moving on to group 3, we have the Warrior. Here we have the Warrior. Turn that down. We have the warrior. In the area of the shadow, we have the 10 of emotions. We have the 7 of inspiration in the area of the light. And in the area of the tool or deeper message, we have the Ace of emotions. And so with the warrior card, the warrior, see, we have the skull here, we have the snake. You know, the warrior is the samurai, is the soldier, is the advocate. The warrior stands precariously at the edge of life and death and trusting the eternal guide. You know, the warrior picks up the sword. The warrior is that entity, that energy that is present. It is present, it is in alignment, it is in purpose. And so the warrior asks us which battles are worth fighting. The warrior asks us to deeply root inside of ourselves. The warrior asks us to choose wisely and bravely where we draw our sword. You know, the warrior archetype, you know, that part of us that wants to fight. And so in the area of the shadow, we have the 10 of emotions. And so the idea, I feel like here in terms of the full moon, is letting go of, it is asking us to let go of a battle, or is asking us to pick and choose our battles, because truly, which battles are going to bring us the happiness that we seek, the joy that we seek, the fulfillment that we seek, you know, the community that we seek. Which battles strengthen our purpose, you know, in the area of the light or the area of manifestation, in the area of positivity. There are battles that we may be fighting that we need to let go of because they're really not making us happy. They're really not making us happy. And then there are battles that are worth fighting. There are battles that preserve our dignity, that preserve our life force, that preserve our soul, that protect our soul from soul loss. And so the 7 of inspiration comes in, and you can see here, like, this is like, she is defending, she is holding her ground. So it is okay to fight. It is okay to protect your inner light. You know, it is okay to protect yourself from negative opinions, of scarcity mindsets. You know, it is okay to protect yourself from this sort of internal, external validation. You know, and so you may be feeling a heavy heart, but it may be time to let go of certain battles. Then we have the Ace of emotions. You know, and so with the Ace of emotions, as we let go of these battles, you know, the full moon is about letting go. As we let go of battles, or we choose the battles that preserve our dignity, that preserve our humility, that preserve our humanity, then it creates richer emotion in us. It creates more fulfilling actions, more fulfilling emotions, more fulfilling and a better well-being. And so with us choosing what battles to fight and leaving those behind, it leaves us room to form new relationships, to find more compassion and creativity. It deepens our emotional intelligence. You know, the Ace of Emotions. It gives us a new feeling about life. We are no longer using our emotion to dictate what battles we fight. Or we're not just solely using our emotions, but we're also using our intelligence. There is this pairing our intelligence with our emotion. So I think that ultimately this reading is asking us which battles are worth fighting. Which battles are worth putting all our love and life force into to preserve ourselves. And by choosing those battles, we open ourselves up to richer connection, richer community, richer romance, or richer inspiration. We open ourselves up to a richer existence. And so we're going to move into our final group of cards. Here we have the Sustainer in the area of the shadow. We have the Two of Emotions. And then in the area of the light or manifestation, we have the Knight of Voices. And then we have the Eight of Voices in the area of the Tool or the deeper meaning, or sometimes I use this card to connect these two cards. So when we think of the Sustainer, the thing that keeps everything steady, you know. The thing that keeps everything together, everything flowing, everything going. This sort of cosmic web. The Sustainer sometimes is the peacemaker. The Sustainer is the upholder, the preserver. And so the Sustainer is which is behind the scene, doing the tasks of life. That which cultivates the garden or pays the bills or keeps the meals warm or keeps the mouse fed. The Sustainer is the sort of peace in the process of life. The Sustainer is the natural inclination to nourish others, to preserve resources, to consider the impact. The Sustainer is sometimes that person which is overworked. The Sustainer is the one sometimes that's overworked, you know. And sometimes the Sustainer is really, it's like, are you holding on to something? Are you trying to keep the peace when really this may be the moment where you stop holding certain things together that are not serving you. Excuse me. Have you been working behind the scenes on something? Have you been the one that's, have you been the one that's holding things together? Have you been the backbone? Have you been the one working behind the scenes? The Two of Emotions, the Knight of Voices, and the Eight of Voices. The Two of Emotions, there is this can deal with friendship. It can deal with, soulmates, mutual attraction, catalysts. So in terms of some sort of relationship, some sort of partnership, or your connection to something really important, have you been the one sustaining a friendship? Have you been the one sustaining a relationship with a lover? Have you been the one sustaining a situation at work, or a situation within your friendship, or a situation in your home, with a family member? Have you been the one constantly putting yourself out there, constantly going above and beyond to be the peacemaker? And so the Two of Emotions, we think about these things that we have been devoted to. These things that we have been devoted to, is it time to stop being the sustainer, to stop being the person who is constantly investing in more, constantly investing in something better, and feeling like, what, I'm doing this by myself, whereas the people around you are just going with the flow? Every time you put in work, every time you do something, people are not showing up, or is there reciprocity that's not happening? And so, is it time to stop being the sustainer? Is it time to stop being the peacemaker? Is it time to stop being the brains of the operation? Or is it time for you to let go of control in a situation? Is the full moon in Sagittarius, the flower moon, asking you to let go of control, to surrender? And so the Knight of Voices comes in. And with the Knight of Voices, I think it's my cat in the background. Oh, they can hear the cat. So the Knight of Voices comes in, and this is about boldly speaking your truth. Whether you're speaking it to yourself or you're speaking it to someone else, it's about boldly speaking your truth. Maybe you've been trying to keep the peace, or maybe you've been holding on and clenching tightly to control when it's time to release that control. And so really speaking purposefully and boldly to yourself, then maybe it's time to either let go of being the peacemaker, or stop being that person, or let go of control. Sorry. So speaking truth to your soul, speaking truth to your body, that it's time to release control, and boldly releasing control. This horse, this sort of wings of truth. Okay. The Knight of Voices, because maybe you're holding on for so much control. You're holding on for so much control. And really, it's time to stop being overbearing. And so the Eight of Voices comes in. The Eight of Voices comes in, and here we're seeing, I'm getting sleepy, y'all. I really am. This card is really asking you to sort of, you know, there are choices that you have, and it is either going to be empowering or disempowering. You know, if you've been the sustainer for so long, if you have been putting in all the energy, all the work, or you've been so obsessive with the need for control, then releasing control may sometimes feel disempowering. Releasing control may sometimes feel disempowering, but can also be wildly empowering. And then for those of us who have been the sustainers, who have been the peacemakers, who have been the ones, you know, sustaining the family, sustaining our relationships or our children or whatever it is, by finally letting go and boldly exerting your truth, you know, either asking for what you need, you know, it's a time to feel empowered by saying, hey, you know what, I'm not going to involve myself in other people's problems anymore. I'm not going to continue to be the peacemaker. I'm not going to continue to be the one who shows up for everyone. You know, so the Eight of Voices, you know, it's about unleashing our ties to certain things, unleashing our ties to certain ideas and perspectives. Let's see what else it. So I think that this card, you know, because with the sustainer, you might be thinking, I can't. You know, but it's no. You know, you might be thinking, because the Eight of Voices is like, stop telling yourself that you can't and tell yourself that you can. You can let go of certain relationships. You can let go of being in control. You can let go of the one who's constantly showing up and putting in the work and working behind the scenes. So that is group 4.